Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to the Islam podcast. And you have your host today, Omar Sawi, with my good friends, Baksh,
Congress.
and the one and only, the legend, Hanan Gafoor.
Assalamualaikum, guys.
And we have zero viewers. So I don't know if I clicked the right thing. Oh, we have one. We have one.
We have people trickling in.
I usually have the countdown. That's why it gives people time to.
Yeah, possibly. I don't think that we have a reminder either up on our.
No, we're really bad this week.
Yeah, well, see what happens when Imad is not here.
The glue that holds us together.
Iman or Imad?
Oh yeah, Iman was here.
Imad, I meant Imad.
Maju was like messaging in our team chat, like, where is the podcast happening?
Yeah, I'm just going to. I'm going to. I put,
Assalamualaikum,
sorry, I'm just gonna put the
Maju.
link. Actually, I'm just going to put the link out to make sure that everybody knows that we're live and what to click. So 1 second, guys.
Oh, Shadow Gems are here. Abdullah Patel.
Oh, it's good because we're going to be talking about Abdullah Patel a little bit today. So, Abdullah, hang on to your hat, buddy, because he always has a hat on. So, or is it a toque? So, let's get started, boys. And let's do this, okay? And so here's the agenda for today. We are going to talk about a few things. First of all, we're obviously going to do the recaps that we usually do, but then we have a couple of points that we want to hit on. And obviously, if there's anything that you guys want us to talk about in the comments, please let us know, inshallah. Okay, so let's kick this off. Okay, so Haya versus Ikhlas. Let's turn it over to Box. Let's go first.
Sure. I unfortunately didn't get to see a ton of this game, but I came kind of and got the word of how it was, and apparently it wasn't Haya's strongest showing. They had, I want to say they got out hustled, but I think we'll leave that to later on in the podcast. But definitely was a showing for a class. Adam Ahmed came out and he had a couple of goals. And didn't you guys see them? Because but I heard he was a difference maker out there.
He was huge. Honestly, I watched that game, and that first goal from Adam Ahmed. You'll never. I don't know if he plays defense or forward because he's everywhere.
Plays football.
He plays football, so he's everywhere. But here's the crazy thing: his first goal went from his net, and he ran it all the way down to the opposing net and scored it from coast to coast. It was insane.
He Pava buried it.
Yeah, it was Adam Ahmed. The way I watch this game evolve is that there have been moments where I think he's still looking to find that uh, the difference between making that risky play and becoming a highlight reel as we saw last week, or playing that conservative role where you're not taking those bad risks or those blind passes. Where he did a little bit of both in that game. He had a few of those blind passes that were turnovers, but fortunately it didn't lead to any goals. But then he turned around by just either taking it all the way to the other end and scoring a goal. And shout out to Taha Azhar and a lot of, I think he was one of the players that came in from the Sabr trade alongside Mohamed Patel. So it's another win for Patel. It's a win for Taha and an assist for Taha. So already you're kind of seeing that trade that Ikhlas had made 2 weeks ago with Sabr paying dividends. They've got 2 wins under their belt because of that. Whereas High on the other end, Lukman's missing. You're starting to see the team almost crumble without having Lukman, but it's also been short bench as well. We saw Uzur return, and he had an amazing game on his own. So he definitely stepped up. He had a goal from it. But the problem that the team is having is that one, they're either getting out muscled or just getting outmanned, and it might just be due to not enough people playing. And shout out to Khalid Mufti. Honestly, as a goalie, I think week in and week out, he faced one of the most shots per game on net. And although they lost, his save percentage was still like an 8.875. So he's stepping up. It's just the team. Like, where's the team?
All right. Let's go to the next game, and which is Yakin versus Rida. Oh boy. This one was ugly. Hannah, you're on the screen. Go ahead.
Yeah, this was a trashing, or thrashing, trashing.
Trash.
This what
It's
we saw
trash,
here today
definitely.
was what we saw here today was, or on Friday, was a team that just kind of imploded. And I don't know if it. I don't think it's due to the lack of players. I think they mentioned that their entire second line did not show up, but even still, the question is, where were the goals? It was a 5-0. At least it would have been a little bit closer if, hey, our second line didn't show up. But in terms of the assignments, nobody did what they were supposed to do. And Zaid Clare, he took advantage of that. He had 4 goals out of the 5 goals, and Otto Patel wasn't even here. So no excuses. We talked about this last week with Rida. Like, this team is just rolling over other, the cross division, and it's due to all the smaller pieces. It's not about the GM. It's not just about the goalie.
They're rolling.
Yeah, well, it's people like Zaid Clare, people like Irfan Benapatel, who apparently goes to gym with Uber, and now he's got a goal because of it. And Faraz Elvi.
He had a penalty because of it.
He got a penalty for it because of it too. Yeah, he's rolling in both stat sheets.
I think this is just one of those games where everything was going right for Rida, nothing was going right for Yakin. And some good guys from Yakin were missing. I think Azhar was missing, Umar Mahmoud. But
Hamza Gaya.
Hamza Gaya as well. So, that's a full line missing. And again, it's always going to be tough. 2 lines against, like, if you have less than 2 lines, it's really tough to win. Unless you have ridiculous stamina. Like Adil Chauhan can do what he can do, but there's only so much he can do. And I noticed out there, I watched some of it, I saw some highlights. Rida was reacting well. They were double teaming Adil, getting him off the ball, and they were rattling him in the sense as he didn't have enough time and space to kind of do what he normally does, and guys just couldn't step up. It just looked like it didn't look like the normal Yakin team we're used to, and the score kind of shows that.
Can you speak to that, Hanan, a little bit in terms of the strategy that they employed against Adil Chauhan? Because it seemed to work, and I mean, they were pretty, I want to say boastful about it. Afterwards, that they kind of implemented their strategy, and it worked quite well for them.
Yeah, and Umar touched upon it briefly. It's this whole double team assignment on Adil Chauhan. They put the pressure on him. If people, on his own team are not aware of it, or not getting opened up fast enough, he's either gonna, throw it to whoever he sees available. And, a lot of these passes are being either cherry picked off of from the defensive line from Zaid Clare, who's just ready, or someone ready to pick the pass and just quickly dump it down. And Zaid's already running. And I think here's the thing is that, Adil Chauhan is going to be playing most of the game. You're going to get tired. Anyone's going to get tired. And, if he's exhausted, people like Zaid Clare, who have their Energizer bunnies, they're just going to keep running. They're going to get by you. There's no way you can expect Otto to run back and stop a breakaway like that. So, kudos to Rida. I don't know who set up the plan. I imagine it's Skashif, Coach K back at it again, even though he's not a GM or a coach. Well, I mean, technically he's a coach.
Zaid Aji was there, and Zaid is the GM, so he's the goalie, and he was there.
I think this may have came from Kasha. Like, I mean, I may be wrong. Maybe it was Zaid's like, hey, I know Otto like double team him, but it seems like a Kasha technique. Pressure the one player, and that's it. Like, the rest of the team kind of just crumbles under pressure because the quarterback doesn't have time to make the plays.
Yeah.
Well,
I want to get back to Yakin for a second, but we'll talk about that after.
Yeah, I was actually going to circle back to that in a second because I'm actually interested to know, being that next week is the game before the trade deadline, if this is, this speaks to maybe an area that Yakin needs to improve.
Is it the game before the break? Is it a break after next week?
Oh, no. So we actually have the trade deadline, and then we have another week, but the rosters are locked before Ramadan. Okay. So, but yeah, let's quickly touch on the next game, and which was Takwa versus Iman, and it was a 2-2 tie.
So I was in this game. I can start this off. So this was Iman's time to shine.
Yes, this was Hanan's first game with Ali Wadi.
Ali Wadi, yeah. So my boy Ali Wadi and our shadow GM Abdullah Patel. I'll say this: everyone came to the game today, and everyone stepped up. And I think we all knew, going into this game that it felt like a do or die. Like, are we ready for playoffs? If we're not going to win the last week, then like we might as well just cash it in. Don't show up to any other week, and we really did step up. And I think Shiraz, the goalie, he let in. To be honest, for me personally, I don't think it was the best goal to let in. It was a little demoralizing, but the team rallied anyways. And I do want to give a full shout out to Abdullah Patel. I think he scored one of the goals, and a lot of it was that huge individual effort from his line. With
He's
him,
shadow GMing and he's doing the work on the floor.
He's doing the work. He's I would say he's one of the steals of the draft at this point in time, given where he was drafted and how well he was performing. Like, I thought I was like watching RC, except RC Light, but RC Light that's going to eventually be RC 2.0 because RC's been MIA. So
RC without the hurt.
Yeah, without the hurt. Yeah.
Well, there's the added benefit that he was also instrumental in bringing Ali Wadi into the league. So
by begging him to please come.
Well, that also speaks to his draft value, right? So
here's the thing: is though we saw Ali Wadi playing forward, and I think he looked a little lost out there because that's not his normal position. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe push back to defense. That's obviously Abdullah Patel's decision because he's the shadow GM. But I wonder, if that's going to happen, who's going to be playing for center for that line? Whereas Taqwa, this is a team that I played them obviously 1 week after another week. They are built like an offensive beast. They have so many different shooters on that team. But the thing is, and what I've noticed about them is that they run out of gas by the second period. And if
they have the stay-at-home defense guys, though, their defense is not. Their defense are like more stay-at-home kind of defense.
But the thing is that the forwards do not run back fast enough to support the stay-at-home defense. So you have this gap, and it becomes a lot more apparent in the second period. And I'm curious to see what changes Taqwa might make, because I think a lot of teams, and if you look at the stat sheets, are exposing them in that second period.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, I mean, Taqwa is, I think they'll live and die by their offense. So I think they'll either score a bunch of goals or you'll have the 2-2 tie because they won't be able to crack one out. I think it's going to be more reliant on their offense. Their defense is great. There's absolutely nothing wrong with their defense. So that's playing well. Khalid Mughal playing well. There's nothing wrong with those guys. Everyone's doing their job, but you got to score, otherwise it's going to be tie. And I think Hanan, you probably wish there was maybe one less goal out there, so you guys can get the extra point. But I think Iman shows at least. I'm going to say like Iman looks like a team that now with bodies and people can probably they won't be a pushover anymore.
Yeah, we'll speak to that. And I think one of the things is we don't see our friend Hanan on the score sheet though. So I mean,
Hanan does a lot of other things that don't get recognized, like talk smack to his teammates, and these things fire people up, right? So you can. Hanan's really good on defense.
And then the good thing too is that the teams that they're chasing, both teams that they're chasing, both lost. So I mean, a point definitely helps them in this regard, right? So. Yeah. Moving on to the last game of the night is Ihsan versus Sabr. And so Sabr obviously getting the first win, but we'll get to that 4-2.
No, Ihsan getting their first win. Sabr was us not getting their win.
But is Sabr still second in division somehow? So I don't know how that.
Because everyone else is crap in the bed with them.
There you go. Well, Bucks, you were in this game. Why don't you speak a little bit to what happened?
Yeah, it was a tough game. Like, I give it up to Ihsan. These guys came out running. These guys came out pushing. And I mean, they caught us in the first period, and a really unlucky goal that kind of went through Zaid Maju. And they were pressuring us, the whole team. Give shout out to all these young, fast kids that are coming out there. Abdullahi, Ishmael Malik, all these guys that relatively new to the league. These guys are hustling and putting in the work, and it was tough to keep up with them. I'll be honest with you. We were roughly the same amount of players. So it wasn't like it was an advantage to anyone, but they were pressuring. It was the type of game that they probably want to play. Nothing negative to say, but we just couldn't match them. They scored on us.
It's funny because it looks like they had a shorter bench than you guys based off of the stat sheet.
Like one player.
Yeah, but it looked like, Ihsan, it kind of falls into that same kind of bucket that I see with Taqwa, where they come off really strong in the beginning, and then you can kind of see that they take their foot off the gas pedal, either due to exhaustion or fatigue. But overall, shout out for the team for persevering. I think, they came out really strong in that first period, 3 goals to 1 goal to Suber. And then, it got a little bit nervous because Suber scored an early goal in the second period with Abdul Wahab, which, also, I believe he was traded also recently. Honestly, every player that Suber got from the trade, Ahmed Ibrahim, Abdul Wahab, they all scored. So the new pieces are doing well. The question is,
old pieces.
Yeah, what happened to the old pieces? Like, where are those guys? But nothing against Yusuf Saudagar. He got another point. So as a GM, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's getting a point per game. Yeah, of course.
What? The thing I think Isawi knows this too, but I think our problem is we're getting caught right in the first period. We're getting caught, and we're not elevating ourselves in the beginning, and then we have to play catch up a lot. So it's never easy doing that stuff, and you can't keep coming back game after game. People aren't going to let you do that. So, Sally, what do you think?
I think you guys hit the nail on the head, right? I mean, there's people that need to definitely play better, including the person that's speaking. And look, at the end of the day, I think that the team took responsibility for the aspects of the game that need to be improved, and it's just a matter of improving it, right? Like you saw, Huzaifa tried to spark the team by playing forward as opposed to defense last week. We definitely are severely missing Junaid Alvi, right? He was high energy player, but he was also the only one scoring at the beginning of the season as well before he got hurt, right? So that speaks to his value to the team, and we hope that he'll be back soon.
Yeah, there's lots of things that we all could have done better, but you know what? Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about Red. Let's talk about they played with a different level of intensity, and shout out to them for getting 3 goals.
And to that point, right? They got their first win, which they sorely did need to stay. I mean, you guys might know this because it's probably in front of you, but how far back are they from third?
They are, I believe they're actually tied, surprisingly, because they had so many
ties
that they're actually tied with Ikhlas for third place. They're both teams at 6. Actually, it's a 3-way tie. Yakin, Ikhlas, and Isan have 6 points each, and Taqwa with 7 points. So
that means they rolled over the other division then, right? Because I mean, the other
Rida, yeah, like Rida, the other division's at 10 points, 5 points, 5 points, and 3 points.
Yeah, so I mean, that must mean that they did really well, and but yeah, that's crazy, right? So that actually sets up things pretty nicely. I expected it to be quite a tight race then, heading into the games after Ramadan.
Yeah,
I mean, these games are going to mean a lot now. These games are going to mean way more now. How tight it is. Sorry.
Well, this is still the cross-divisional games.
This is the last one.
This is the last one. So this will really determine, the pacing for the Mecca division and the Medina division, because with Suber. Sorry, let's just talk about Isan for a second. For Isan specifically, even though they felt disheartened because this is their first win, they are tied for second place. You can put it that way, and they're literally 1 win away. If the other 3 teams lose and they win next week, that puts them in a first. Imagine that first
last
place.
To first.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's wild. Just thinking about that.
0 to 100 real quick.
And the thing is, they are not a bad team. Goals against, they have the second least in their division. I think they have the third least overall in the.
Mohamed Bogo standing on his head. It's not any fault of his.
Yeah, they're defensively they are a capable team. It's just a matter of being able to connect offensively, and I think we saw that last week. It's just a matter of whatever they did, whatever worked, keep doing it. Just keep doing it, and you'll see success.
And I think they're a very, very underrated defensive team, in my opinion. Like, I know they're fast. I mean, they get the props for being fast, but they are extremely good at getting in the lanes. They're extremely good at blocking shots. Yep. Like, very, very good. Like, uncanny ability to block shots, and so they definitely protect their goalie well, and their goalie bails them out when needed. So, hopefully this is a thing of progress for them, right? And they continue on and definitely win some more games. Okay, so actually somebody touched it. I think it was Baksh, but Ikhlas has also been doing really, really well, right? And maybe it speaks to a little bit of the trade that they made. And Hanan, you spoke a little bit about it when you're recapping the game, but you spoke about Tahar Azhar, and we talked about Badger right, as well. So I have not personally been able to see them play, but can you speak to the difference that these guys have made, Hanan?
So Badger has been standing on his head. Like he's been lights out for a lot of teams. He's making those key saves that I think Iklas was not gelling well with. Was it Zaid Maju who was playing with him earlier? And sometimes it is about chemistry. It's understanding how your goalie plays and how your team can play with your goalie. And I think they just give a little bit more leeway to Badger's play style. And it's been working out well with them with their offensive capabilities. I know they traded away Maz Punchbaya, which was meant to be that whole like the guy who will end up scoring all your goals for you, or that secondary line goal scorer, as you do have RC and Diab Claire and Mohamed Claire. But I think what they gained with Daha is that you get a lot more grit on your team. Now, hopefully, Daha can kind of control his game. I think he picked up a penalty this game. He picked up back-to-back penalties each game. So just kind of containing that game a little bit
Daha
more.
for you.
And he does have hustle. Like I think Iklas having Daha is another fast player on their team, and I think they're built with speed in mind.
Awesome, Buck. Anything to add?
I think the trade was really good for them. I think it helped them out in areas that they could obviously get better in. Having Badger as their goalie probably is what they ultimately is maybe helping their confidence and allowing them to kind of play a little more looser in front. And Taha is a spark plug. Taha defensively does everything, and he's very fast. I mean, we talk about containment. It's very tough. He's a forechecker. He runs back. He does everything you need. So I think they need guys like that on their team, and it's going to help them. Other than that, they have a lot of scoring. They have a lot of everything. Like there's no reason they can't be winning in any game. It just whether or not their guys show up. I've been saying that for a long time. Eventually, now they got some finish, but finish. We got some finish finally, but yeah, I think the trade worked out for both teams. Both teams addressed things that they needed.
Awesome. And moving on now to Iman, because them having a full bench or a full roster, I believe, right? I don't think anybody was missing Hanan. They looked really good, and I mean like their play style, right? Not anything else. But
There's a handsome group out there.
We are a classy looking bunch. I think we were missing one player. I can't remember off the top of my head who it was because we were down to two centers, but we had three full lines of wingers just absolutely rolling. And I think it was Khalil. Thank you, Abdullah Patel. So it's Khalil Kokar who was missing, and it just shows you like we're missing Khalil Kokar, who I believe last season, he was a phenomenal goal scorer when he was playing with Suber. Just another utility player that will eventually be back on the lineup, and I think this team has found a way to click. They know their weaknesses, they're knowing how to compensate for it, but they now know that they have the confidence to go out and just pepper other teams with shots on goal, defensively being sound, make sure that they have people running back like myself, making sure they know we're defensively minded. I would say honestly for the rest of the teams in the division outside of Rida, which is they're first right now, but come playoff time it might be a different story. But for Suber and Haya, watch out because I don't think it's going to be Iman who's going to be fourth and missing the playoffs at the end of the season.
You take that back.
Yeah, you take that back, sir. Okay. Who do you think is going to miss the playoffs? And I want you to put on the record for us.
Yeah.
It's early to tell, but I'll be like, and I know this doesn't sound controversial, but to be honest, the way Suber has been trading players,
let's not get into that.
I'm just saying, like, I don't think you guys are getting enough time to gel and.
Oh, we're you guys now.
You guys.
What do you mean, you people?
Yeah, the GMs. They're. I don't think they're giving your team enough time to gel with each other.
We're talking about Iman.
Actually, this was mentioned on one of the Fridays. Basically, been that the Suber GMs have been a little bit jumpy when they lose, right? And so this week we haven't seen any moves, but with regards to the moves that were made, do you feel like that was maybe a little bit of impatience in your part? Well, not on your part, in your opinion.
No, I think there was a little impatience though. And here's why. It's because they traded for Saif Ansari when they traded for me, but I think Saif was missing a game, and that was the game you guys lost last week. And then when they traded for Maz Punchbaya, he was going to miss that game for whatever reason. And I think, it's these small things like that that can add up where, that could have been the difference maker in terms of, does your team get the 2 points or does the team get 0 points? And, it puts a lot more risk and puts you a little bit more in the danger zone where you might slip up and start making, trades that are less feasible because you might be thinking, oh, this player's not playing well, let's trade him. But in reality is that you don't have your full team. And this is probably a player that just plays better when you have more players surrounding them as well.
Excellent. And now, Bucks, anything to add? Yes, I hear the breathing.
I don't want to say. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm gonna get traded if I say something. No, I'm just joking. It's you know what? It's on us. It's forget the trades, forget everything. It's on us to come out and play, and it's every man's responsible for his own thing, and yeah, I'll probably get traded by next week, but it's okay. It's not a big deal. I accept my fate regardless.
Okay, now moving on to the fact that I think Haya has lost 3 games in a row. Is that I believe that's correct? They're lost or tied, and they have not won a game in 3 weeks. And
Been tough for Haya this year.
well, somebody mentioned that it's basically that Luke is missing, but we have a team like Rida who's won games without Adil Patel, and so what seems to be the issue here?
So the thing is that I think it's the funny thing is that Adil Patel also plays defense. So I think you're right here where, Luke missing, it seems like a cop-out answer as to why they're losing. I think it's just not Luke missing. I think there is more than just Luke that are not showing up to each game. Even last game, I think they had only dressed 8 to 9 players. And I think, the Haya hustle, you got to think about it. When you're hustling, that means every shift you're going hard. But you can't go hard every shift if you only have one sub that you're subbing with. Fatigue's gonna hit really hard and really fast. And I think that's what's happening to Haya is that they're holding their own until like maybe the mid mark of the first period, where other teams are starting to take advantage to either a delayed shift where you're staying on too long and exploiting that, or it's like with Klaus, Adam Ahmed, he had he had no assists. It was literally individual effort, and he scored both goals. And it might be the fact that you might need that leadership to kind of yell to players, like, come off. You're on too long. You need to come off. At least get a little bit of breather because other players are just they're running by you.
It's a different type of hire than normal. Like the type of players, the type of people they've brought on. So it's a different mix of personalities, different mix of player types. They're more of a run and gun team in my opinion now than they were like a trap or like a two-way defensive type of team. So I think maybe they have the growing pains of getting used to playing a different style and being short. Like you said, you can't. I keep saying it. No one's gonna win if you have less than 2 lines. You're gonna get smoked eventually, unless you're Yusuf Ahmed, Sajid Ayubi, and these guys who could have like been on the floor the whole time. You get tired, and unfortunately, you have to switch properly, and you have to take proper shifts. I'm not poking at Haya. I'm saying for anyone, like you have to have proper shifts.
Well, you got to look at Yakin, right? I don't think Adil Chauhan shifted off once, and the teams exploited that. I don't think so. I don't think so. I feel like at least when I saw, he was on the entire game. He didn't even go for it. He stole his goalie's water. So I mean, that's a little, I don't know, that's disrespectful. But other teams are going to start exploiting the fact that hey, this player's always on, and if they're not planning on shifting off, just tire them out.
So I mean, that may be a good segue to jump back to what we talked about earlier. In that
we're talking about Haya.
Well, I think we've covered that, right? In the sense that we mentioned that it seems to be a personnel issue, not a skill issue. And so for Haya, because we had marked them as one of the better teams in the beginning of the season, and I think that
you did.
I still think so, right? I still think that they're
a good team. They just everyone needs to show up, as we said.
Exactly, right. So I don't think they necessarily need to make moves to improve the team. I think they just need attendance. Yeah. And so that contrasts a little bit into what I think Yakin needs, right? And Yakin might need some help on defense, I think, right? I mean, who is their defense? What's their defensive core?
I think Sahil, what's his name?
Johan.
Abbas Ali. I think Abbas Ali.
Abbas
Marshi.
Amarshi. Abbas Amarshi.
Abbas Amarshi.
Yeah, Abbas, Sahil, who plays forward sometimes, and Adil and Samad.
Summit, I guess.
So I mean, that defensive core is not the fastest defensive core, nor is it the most physical defensive core.
Mhm.
They have guys that can run back and forth, right? So they got
You have,
guys.
you have someone like Sani, right, who can play defense. You have someone like Azhar Zafar who can play defense, but then that takes away from the forward.
Umar Mahmood.
Yes, but then that's away from your forward capability, right? So, in my eyes, it seems like they might need to move one of their forward assets for, a more mobile defenseman like Abdul Battal's here. Maybe they might need someone like Coco, right? On
Yeah,
defense.
but
No. Everyone's in love with the Coco. Nobody wants to get rid of him.
I think you hit on it earlier, Isawi. I think all Yakin really needs to do is try to get commitment from one of their forwards to play defense. I think Umar Mahmood sounds like a solid choice. Sani, I think he's too valuable on center.
You want Umar on offense.
But I think is you need someone to complement Chauhan's play style on the defense, because right now you have Sahil, but who's leading that second line? Or is like I said, are you planning on just keeping Chauhan on indefinitely, and whenever it's like you're missing a player, all right, Chauhan just play the entire shift, and then two defense just swap out.
Hold on,
you'll get punished.
Is Yakin Asawi? You know what's going on in the GMs? Is Yakin active in the talks? Is Haya active in talks? Like what's happening? What's going on for this trade deadline?
I just work here, buddy. I don't know. But I mean, that being said, there is really this game and then 5 days to make trades.
So let's throw this out there. If Haya has offense, and if Yakin has offense to sell or to trade, who are they buying from?
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. I don't think Lukman is the type to give a good deal to other teams. I've never seen a trade from Lukman.
He's a stingy man.
They haven't made a trade, and Lukman hasn't made a trade in like 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah, I don't think he's in the market to make trades. I think he kind of goes with that same philosophy Adil Patel does. I drafted this team. And I drafted
Adil Patel just waving at Arif. It looks like he wants to trade.
No, I think Adil and Lukman have that same philosophy. I drafted this team to go the distance. I don't plan on trading anyone unless they want them. Unless they want out.
It'd be funny. Adil Patel said, "It's like I will draft this team. We will die together." Hey, you guys want to trade?
But here's the thing. I think that Yakin and Iman are actually really good trading partners because Iman has defense, right? Again, as a defenseman, what I can tell you guys is that a player like Adil Chauhan, he needs a stay-at-home defenseman. He doesn't need an offensive defenseman unless you're on the power play. Okay, what he needs is a reliable person to, hold the line while he does his thing, and then you need a defensively responsible forward that can go and sort of take a spot when he's pinching. And
will you trade Moose?
But here's the thing: is I don't think Iman needs to trade any pieces. Like I think Iman's kind of set in stone. Like
Iman's not in the playoffs right now, so they might need to do something.
They might, but I think if they win this week, Iman, why trade? Like that's going to be my question. Like I don't think my point is that I don't think any team's going to trade until the end of this week, depending on where they are in the schedule or the standings.
I'm sorry, I wasn't implying that they need to trade because they're not going to make the playoffs or they need to have a fire sale. But what I'm saying is that right now, where Iman seems to be lacking is in the forwards' foot speed and in the scoring department, right? If you look at last game as an anomaly, really, like they have solid. You have Riaz on defense, right? Who is very, very good defensively, not so much in terms of scoring, right? You have someone like Coco, who's very mobile, very good defensively and offensively, having a bit of a down year. You have someone like Mustafa Alam, right, who does not look like he really lost anything in terms of his step and his defensive ability. And you have guys on Iman. What I'm trying to say is I think that there's a defenseman that is expendable on Iman to improve the offense if that's the route that they're trying to go. Yeah. So anyway,
it might work because I'm thinking, like, if you think about it, they could put Ali Wadi on defense with Iman, and that will free up the need for maybe a second centerman that if another team might have to offer. So that's something to consider as a GM.
Abdullah Patel, take notes, have conversations.
So green. I don't know if he knows. I don't know if he knows these ins and outs yet, but we'll see. But moving on to the last point, and also our player of the week, Mr. Zaid Clear, and it's another Clear again. I feel like they've been on like every single overlay. So, I mean, we spoke to it a little bit, but Bucks, why don't you, or actually, Hanan, you're up on the screen. Why don't you talk a little bit about his game and sort of I think, did you play with him last season? I think you did.
Yeah, I played with him last season. Honestly, phenomenal, phenomenal player. I think we just saw the making. That was his rookie season, so it's crazy how Zaid Clare, even Mohamed Clare, these guys who joined at the same time, how quickly they've already developed and already improved their game. Obviously, Zaid is absolutely having a stellar season with Ado Patel and the Rida team, and I think it's one of the things where we're only going to see him get better under the mentorship of great players like Adil and Huzaifa, who are leveraging Zaid's speed and his ability to finish, which I think was kind of lacking last season. But it's absolutely bloomed and become a phenomenal player at the end of the day. And I think if we ever talk about steals of the draft in the first half of the draft, Zaid will definitely take my money for that, just because of how much he's been producing compared to other players. And that's the thing, is I always look at where a player was drafted and then look at every player that was drafted before him. And as GMs, you're probably thinking that too. It's like, oh, I could have picked that player if I had just risked this player. And Zaid was absolute money where he was drafted.
That's crazy, man. When we're old guys and we can't run anymore, these are the guys that are going to be dominating us, and like, we're going to be waving our canes at them and shouting at them. Him and Hussein Malik.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I after seeing that game last week and seeing how he's playing, I think I've noticed him. He's got a lot more confidence, and even from seeing him the season before, he was just a little hesitant. And I think that just coming in and playing with older guys and just trying to get familiar with things, and he knows this. He knows how to play. I think what I've noticed is guys get more familiar the longer they play here, and then they get more confident, and then they kind of know what they can do. And I think his confidence is riding high right now. He's super comfortable out there, and he's just doing what he wants to do right now. And obviously he's getting older, he's getting bigger. I said, add 20 pounds to this kid, and it's going to be very hard to stop him. Like of lean muscle, not just 20 pounds.
Oh, it might be hard for him to get those breakaways if he did that. One thing I will say is, and I think that this speaks to maybe the environment that has been cultivated on Rida, is that there's a lot of like physical backing that he has, right? So he can take some liberties, he can make some plays, he can do some deeks, and he doesn't have to be worried about somebody coming and getting in his face and all. Because you have someone like Faraz Alvi, right? As if you want to call him like his muscle, right? You have someone like Kashif, you have Amr Khwaja, you have these, you have EBP, right? And so you have these bigger brothers, if you will, insulating him while he plays his game, because he does play a very like, I mean, if by the
he's
time
shifty, he's shifty.
by the time you score the fourth goal on me, I'm getting kind of pissed off, right? And so I think it speaks to the culture that Rida has built, and kudos to them. So
but he's such a nice kid. I would never even want to hit this kid. Like, even going around him, I feel bad. She's so nice. I just feel bad if I actually hit him or like push him. I would feel bad.
Yeah, but do you really want him to get the fourth goal, Bucks, and then get traded? I mean, no, right? And so we're almost kind of at the point where we need to wrap up now. But I'm going to throw up next week's schedule, and I just want you guys to maybe quickly give us your key to success. Like, what does each team need to do to win the game?
I think looking at that first game, it's Ikhlas versus Iman. I think the key to success for Iman is being able to defensively play sound against the opposing team, which is Ikhlas. And the main reason I say that is that one of the big issues that's going to come up when you're playing against Ikhlas is that they are a fast and they are an agile team. Whereas Rida has one Claire, you have three Claires on Ikhlas. So, I mean, it's almost like a three-headed dragon. But and what I'm trying to really get at here is that you have a strong defensive core. It's putting it to the test now against a speedy Ikhlas. Whereas Ikhlas, I think the return of RC this week will be huge for that team as well. I think the key for them is stay out of the penalty box. I think they've taken some pretty bad penalties, and it could be a disadvantage going against Iman, which I think has a pretty solid power play from what I've seen.
All right, Bucks, why don't you speak to the next one? Sabr versus Yakin.
This is going to be a redemption game for both teams. So who wants him more? Who wants to rebound from a loss from last week? I think Suber, we definitely want to push the pace, and we want to play to our strengths, and I think our strengths are our forecheck, and I think that's very common. And with Yakin, I think they just want to reset and kind of forget last week happened, and play the way they play. They're an offensive team. They no reason why they can't be scoring. They have Hussein Malik, they have Adil Johan, they have Sani, they have Arif Khan, they have all these guys. It's just gonna be, will they show up, or are they gonna get their guys to show up, and can Suber hold off that offense if it's there? And Arif said he's coming for my head. If my head is my elbow, then please come for it.
Oh boy, here we go. Listen, I mean, one of the things, I'm just going to jump in here very quickly because I want to wrap up, but Yaquinez definitely has something to prove, right? When it proved the last week was an anomaly, right? So obviously they're going to come out very, very hard, and they're going to apply the pressure to Suber. And so, it could very well be a 5-0 drubbing to prove a point. And so I think Suber needs to be prepared. And I definitely think that they need to play defensively responsible, and they need the guys to show up, right? So for the guys that do show up, make sure that you bring your big boy pants, because I think it's going to be a slobber knocker.
So I was gonna say that.
I think it's gonna be fun though, because I think Huzaifa. Every time I talk to him, he always tells me, he's like, "Oh, this is how this is how you defend against Adil. This is how you play against Adil." And I'm telling you right now, if Suber loses to Yakin, I imagine that locker room is just gonna Huzzy's just gonna lose it, because
you're gonna get ripped on. I think Hanan is like salivating right now about this game next week. Okay, moving on. Jump in on Rida versus Ehsan.
So for me, this game, I feel like it's going to come down to the goalies. I think Mohamed Mughal has played absolutely stellar with Ihsan and their defensive core, whereas Rida, Zaid Aji hasn't been really challenged as of yet from the other teams I've seen. But I think Ihsan is the team to have that firepower to really put Zaid to the test. If Ihsan was smart, they would have watched Rida's game last week and understood their strategy when it comes to Zaid, and had that proper defensive coverage for him. So I don't think the same tricks might work last game as it will this game, depending on how many people Ihsan have dressed up for the game. But for Rida's side, honestly, keep doing what they're doing. You got Huzaifa, make sure you just show up on time. Don't show up, 10 minutes into the first period. I mean, they're still winning because of it, but
he looks so lost when he's coming in late.
Yeah. And then obviously, keep in mind, it used to be like, you used to think, okay, they have Adil Patel, they have Huzaifa, but now you're thinking Adil, Huzaifa, Zaid. And then you don't even get me started on the defensive core with Suleiman. So, you got your work cut out for you, but, they are not unbeatable. Let's put it that way.
I mean, do you think, and this, I don't think it's too early to ask this question, but I mean, I feel like they're probably a lock for the top seed, right? In the division.
Yeah. To be honest, I think so too. I don't think we're ever going to see Rida implode at this point. Just the way they're playing, I think they
top
definitely
seed doesn't mean you automatically win though. So it.
We're just talking about top seed. I'm not talking about they're going to win. I'm going to say I think they basically have landed top seed, and I think it's going to be a gritty fight for the other three teams in that division, just to make sure that they don't end up at fourth.
Yeah. All right. Great point. Bucks, let's quickly talk about the last game, and then we're going to wrap it up.
It's going to come down to whose offense can spark and whose offense can sustain. I think Taqwa needs to get some goals, and so does Haya. I think both these teams are going to come out. I think you'll see a high scoring game. I think each team should have like 3 goals each, just with the way things are going here. And I mean, is Luke going to be here? I don't know. If who knows what version of Haya we'll get. So you get different versions of Haya depending on who shows up. So it's just going to come down to who can outscore, because I don't see defense doing much in these games, or at least stopping.
I don't know. I kind of disagree. I think Yusuf Kapoor in himself has had a stellar season for Taqwa.
I said defense. No, the goalies have been great.
But I don't think he's going to give up 3 goals ever this season. I don't see that. I think he's on another level this season compared to previous seasons. I would be surprised to ever see him give up 3 goals. But to your point, I do agree that Taqwa will need to make sure, they are defensively sound. I think it's because Kazi plays defense, but it's making sure they can keep that pressure up in the second period. Whereas Haya, you need to you have pressure. You need, as Umar always says, you need finish.
Finish.
Yeah, honestly, that's the problem with Haya. Is I see a lot of opportunity, no finish.
There you go. And with that brings us to the end of the podcast. I know that Hanan, coming from another podcast immediately to this one, his voice is probably tired. We want to preserve that for him. So we don't want to tire our star out. So boys, thank you so much. And, inshallah, we'll see you guys on Friday night. To everybody, thank you for tuning in. And that is it for our Islam podcast. Thank you guys. Assalamu alaikum.
See you Friday, guys. Assalamu alaikum.